empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It's Testimonial Monday, and our topic for today is From Trauma to Triumph. We are live on Intellectual Radio. On the last episode of Warriors Talk, Rizal and I talked about when your partner says, I need space. Head on over to YouTube and type in Intellectual Radio and stay connected for any episodes you may have missed. The quote of the day is Your trauma is not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. And that author is unknown. It's time for trending topics. In Chicago, Cook County Clerk Karen Yarborough has died, according to a spokesperson for the county. She was 73 years old. She was married to her husband, Henderson, and together they had a blended family of 6 and shared 12 grandchildren and 3 great grandchildren. She was the first African American and woman to serve as the clerk in Cook County, elected in 2018. Before she was the Cook County clerk, she was the clerk recorder of deeds and a state representative. She received her bachelor's degree in business from Chicago State University, a master's in inner city studies from Northeastern Illinois University, a certificate in public leadership from Pepperdine University School of Public Policy, and she completed advanced leadership studies at Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Illinois Speaker of the House, Emmanuel Chris Welch, said he is heartbroken to hear about her death, and he extends his condolences to her family and friends. The state of Illinois got to know Karen as a trailblazer and a tenacious advocate who has a remarkable legacy. He said in a statement that she served in the West Suburb community together for almost 2 decades, and he was lucky enough to see her generosity, her kindness, and how fiercely she loved her family and friends. And the entire community mourns her loss, and she would be deeply missed. He said that he knows that her spirit will live on and be a guiding force. Prayers out to Karen's family and her friends. If you are tuned in on any form of social media, like the show, share the show, and invite someone else in on the show that you feel may benefit from this valuable information. My special guest today is the author of God's Gonna Replace It with Better, the editor in chief of Live Better magazine, founder of Live Better LLC, and certified health coach. She is a breast cancer survivor that passionately advocates for patients, dedicating her time to volunteer with breast cancer programs. She offers invaluable peer to peer support, guiding and uplifting newly diagnosed individuals on their journey towards recovery and empowerment. Welcome to Warriors Talk, Jeannie Simmons. Hey,
Thank you. Hey, how are you? How's everybody?
good. How are you? So glad to have you here.
Thank you. So glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm humbled by it.
You're welcome. I'm excited by the topic.
Yeah.
I think it fits well with individuals who have been through any type of trauma, really.
hmm
So anybody can tune into the show and walk away empowered.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump right into the conversation. This is Testimonial Monday.
hmm
So I want to know, what was your initial introduction to cancer?
A little bit of a story. My initial introduction to cancer was in 2018. I was tragically hit by a car. I wasn't in a car. I was actually the pedestrian that got hit and struck, tossed in the air, landed on my left side. And from that, I suffered several injuries, and they took me to, of course, the hospital. After several tests that they gave me, pretty much after everybody kind of rushed and made sure that there was no internal bleeding, they pretty much said what needed to be done, which was emergency surgery, because I broke my scapula in like 3 or 4 places. But at the end of that evening, my husband and I wasn't really comfortable with the particular hospital. for other reasons, and we wanted to, go to another specialist just to make sure that, what they were saying was actually true. And I remember that day like yesterday. I was in so much agony and so much pain. So as they were getting ready to release me, because we weren't allowing them to do the surgery, they said, oh, by the way, we see something. So I was like, okay. So long story short, I'm prepping for surgery. And I went to my medical doctor to get clearance. So I said to her, and I wasn't going to say something to her because I was in so much pain. When I say pain, Lady ReShell, I mean from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet. My whole body was in pain. And you would think it's the shoulder, but because of the impact, it went so many other places. So I wasn't going to mention anything about what they said, but for some reason I just kind of did. And she goes, well, you're cystic, your breast is cystic, but let me check your record. So she checked my record and she says, oh, you are due a mammogram, but they're not going to give you one because your left shoulder is immobilized and they need to do both left and right breast. So I thought about it for a minute and I was like, no. I was like, you write on the script, that this is my situation and that they see something on the right side and that let them tell me no, not you tell me no. So lo and she did it. She gave me the script and they did. They went and they gave me the mammogram and ultrasound on the right side. The mammogram did not pick up. It was the ultrasound, and the technician was like, oh, I'm going to get the doctor, come in. And at that point, I knew something wasn't right. So I told her, well, before you go get the doctor, go get my husband, please. So another long story short, he came in and he said, yeah, we see something that looks very suspicious, and we want you to go and get it tested. And so that's what I did. So the accident happened in October of 2018. By the time I went through the testing in December of 2018, they diagnosed me with stage 2A breast cancer.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
That was nobody but God, I would say, because probably hadn't you had the accident, you probably just went on with your life as usual, like we do, as because we're busy doing everything else. And you said something about the mammogram. It didn't pick it up.
No,
you had to get an ultrasound.
Correct. And I always got both, a mammogram and ultrasound. So
I like the way you advocated for yourself in the doctor's office.
Absolutely.
Some people are scared to say something. Some people take the doctors at their word, and yeah, they went to school for it, so they may know a little bit more than you, but you know your body, and if you feel like something is not right, then you have to speak up for yourself. And your husband was there, so you was like, I'm not going to be in here alone. Go get my husband.
Absolutely.
Go get my husband.
And I just want to add too, like I have a slogan that I say that God spared my life to save my life, to give him the glory. And that's my story, because I felt nothing. I felt no lumps. I felt no bumps. I had no discharge. I had no side effects. I had nothing. So the day that I got hit by the car, it was nothing but God. And God said, yeah, I'm going to break you for a minute, but it's to spare you, to save you for this day. So I just wanted to add that you're so right, that I had no symptoms. And they didn't take one. I had a lumpectomy. They didn't take one. They didn't take two. They took 3 from me. 3 lumps from me.
In that one breast?
In that one breast.
Wow.
Yeah. And what happened was, the woman of God that I'm under now, she wasn't a pastor at that time, but she was very significant. And she would have these gatherings every Saturday. And I remember specifically broke up, holding my shoulder. And I promised my husband that I wasn't going to be active. I just wanted to go and sit. So he said, okay, no problem or whatever. And I got there and she was, praying over people and talking and stuff. And she called me up and she said, the Lord said for me to tell you to turn around. So I did turn around, but Lady ReShell, I turned around 3 times. And when I turned around 3 times, she says, I told you only to turn around once. Excuse me, the background noise. She said, I only told you to turn around once, but you turned around 3 times. She said, and because of that, this was prior to me finding out. She said, God said he's going to give you 3 victories. I had no idea they were going to take 3 lumps from my breast in December of 2018.
Oh my goodness. It pays to be obedient too, because had you been like, oh, I want to go up there, I'm not feeling well, I'll just go sit right here. So it pays to be obedient as well.
Absolutely.
I think most women think that, oh, I did my breast exam and I don't feel a lump, so I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying you didn't feel it. They would actually, the ultrasound actually picked it up.
Correct.
And I just want women to not be so fixated on a lump.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be in the breast, it could be in your lymph nodes, right? Because the breast, it starts here, like up by the collarbone, all the way underneath here, and it goes under your arm too.
Absolutely.
Make sure those are the areas that you're checking. So it may not be a lump. You may not find a lump. And this is why you still need to go and make sure you're getting your mammograms. You're having conversations with your doctor about, oh, this is happening in my family, so when should I start getting tested? Or if you have dense breasts and you know the mammogram is not going to do you any good. So I need to get an MRI. I need to get a detailed MRI of my breast.
Absolutely.
Some women may not know that. So that's why these testimonials are very important, because they may not get that information at the doctor's office.
And sometimes we also think that, we're afraid to go. I wasn't afraid to go. I was getting them. I just didn't feel anything. But when God has a greater purpose for you, when he has a plan for you, who asks for these things? We're not the first. And we're not going to be the last. We didn't ask for this. But when he shows you the mercy, because it was a rough season, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 5 years of my life was a really rough season. I had to learn to walk again, talk again, think again, and I had both whammies. I had something going on my left side, something going on my right side. So that's how he begins to position you. And sometimes, and I remember specifically when I was going through my treatments, and I was like, oh my God, I don't believe I'm getting ready to say this, but I would go for my treatments and they weren't nice to me at all. They just weren't. And so I remember checking myself in, and the girl gets very familiar with you, so she knows you on a first name basis. And I said to her, I can't believe I'm getting ready to say this, but this is one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it put me in alignment with awareness and alignment that I'm not going to be the last person. So somebody after me needs me to be strong for them, because I'm not going to know who I'm going to meet along the way. So a lot of that 2018 to 22 was tears. A lot of it was prayers. A lot of it was petitioning. A lot of it was, God, your will be done. I had to get right with God. I had to thank him. I had to do a lot of soul searching, Lady ReShell. And I said, Lord, this is not for me. This has to be for somebody else, because my mom is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. Mm-hmm. So when God graces us to see and allow us to go to the other side, we have to encourage and we have to be strong. And then after a while, you begin to realize, no, I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. But now I understand that the thorn that's in my flesh that I was going to carry me all the time is for somebody else. It makes it that much more worthwhile pushing for the better.
I totally agree with you. I had a conversation with my daughter, who's a type 1 diabetic. She was diagnosed at 11. She's 17 right now. So she doesn't like to talk about it. She don't want anybody to talk about it. She don't want anybody to know. So I was having a conversation with her, and she said, Ma, I'm starting not to look at my diagnosis as like, shame or like something bad has happened to me, like it's a burden.
That's right.
I'm realizing that it's not, and that, like you said, it made her more aware of herself, the things around her. And I looked at her like, did she just say that? Because she don't want nobody to talk, but don't tell nobody, I want nobody to know. So yeah, I guess people probably get tired of us sharing all the time, but it's not for us. It really isn't. And it's healing for us every time that I can get through it without tears. It's healing for me. And
That's it.
right away, because sometimes I would cry in the middle and I'd be like, wait, give me a second. But when I can get through it without tears,
Absolutely.
it's not for me.
That's right.
He's using you for his glory. So whatever it is, like, Lord, I know this can't be something is coming out of it. You're going to get the glory somewhere in here.
That's right.
What do you need me to do? And you would be so amazed of all of the people you would meet, the magazine that you have, the book that you have, like all of the things that come with that you probably wasn't even thinking about. Wasn't even nowhere on your radar.
Nope. I didn't even know I was a writer. I know I had articulation of speech. Yeah, I knew that. I'm an introvert. I say that. People don't like it when I say that, but I'm identifying and being authentic. I'm an introvert. I could be in my own head. I'm happy, whatever. When you start asking me to do something outwardly, I'm like, unless I'm comfortable. Like I'm in a comfortable setting. I can talk all day. But when he would wake me up at 3:00 in the morning, I'm like, Lord, I'm broke up. Like, what are you talking about? And he would tell me, go get this journal. And I'm like, I forgot I had that journal. And I would reread the journal. I didn't realize, Lady ReShell, that I had already wrote it. I just had to add and plug in the thing that he allowed me to experience that I didn't want to experience. And he would wake me up at 3:00 in the morning and he would tell me what to write. And I remember specifically, I went away for the weekend. And again, my husband's like, okay, we're going to go. And I said, you give me 1 weekend, just 1 weekend. And by the time that Sunday came, chapter 1 was done. And that's how I knew that God wanted me to write the book and title it, God's Gonna Replace It with Better. And he didn't say going to, he said gonna. And I had to write it prophetically because I was going through the season as I was writing the book. So I didn't really know what was going to happen to me. I had uncertainty on all sides. I just knew that I served a God that was well able and I was following his instructions. So after I wrote chapter 1, I said, okay, Lord, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? 2, what's 2 going to be about? And as soon as I was writing 1, he was giving me chapter 2. So that's how I knew that the book was written out of obedience. And sometimes we're taken on a journey and we have to trust the process, even though we don't see it, even though we don't smell it, even though we can't taste it, we have to trust the process. Because on the other side, there's victory. On the other side, there's triumph. I'm not a trauma expert, but my experience makes me trauma ready. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I didn't go to school for trauma. I don't have a PhD for trauma, but trust my experience. What I went through was traumatic. And a lot of times we as women, we don't realize there's no little trauma and big trauma. You can experience relationship, work issues, health-wise. It can be traumatic. And once we can identify that it is that, then we can know how to move forward and how to work around it.
Yes, I like that. I like how you were actually tapped in to hear God download this book to you. Like, it sounds like you were really excited about, okay, now what's happening next? Even though it'll get worse before it get better. But okay, I'm trusting him through the process.
Yep.
Girl, these storms comes to shake your world up. We have to learn how to be unshakable. We have to learn how to know that we have a firm foundation in God.
Yep.
And that we're unmovable.
Yep.
With him by our side, we're unmovable. But a lot of times we let fear take over that, but you have to learn how to operate through fear. Do it anyway.
Feel it, feel the fear, and do what? And do it anyway.
Do it
Absolutely.
anyway.
Absolutely.
Do it anyway.
And sometimes when you're in the process, you don't realize how God is pushing you. You're just doing it. You don't know like what it looks like for you. Maybe to somebody else, they're like, wow. But for you, you're like, you know, you don't know, but you just have to just do it anyway.
Anyway.
Just have
Now,
to do
with
it.
the book, God's gonna replace it with better.
Yes.
What was the message behind the book that you expect readers to walk away with?
The message was, have you ever had something on your mind that and in your heart that you wanted to do and you just didn't quite know how to articulate it, right? You didn't know where to begin. But you always had this dream and this reality that there was more, right? And sometimes you didn't have the right people around you to cultivate you, to say, hey, you could do this and you could do that. So you hold on to the dream and you hold on to what you have in your mind that you want it to look like or be, but you just don't know how to get there. And so the best way that you handle it is you just let the chips fall where they may and you see what happens. And I remember, and so that's pretty much what I want people to get from my book was that God took me on a journey. He placed me in a position that I had no choice but to trust him. And that your dreams can come true, but there is no testimony without a test.
Yes,
You're
say
not
that
gonna,
again.
you're not gonna get to where you want to go in the vehicle unless you go through some things. So you can have a dream. You can, and it's not to scare anybody. This was my story. Everybody's story is different, but how you heard your parents say, I struggled to get here. You know, you now know that the struggle is real. One of my chapters is the struggle is real. You know, one of my favorite chapters is learn how to live life poured out. You know, and my story is still being written. So there's still more books inside of me that I know that I still need to write. But this was just the first one that I manifested.
Yes. I always say if you're not being tested, you're not being promoted. In order for you go to the next level, when you're in school, they're giving you tests to make sure that you're promotable to the next level.
Absolutely.
And even on some jobs, they may give you a test to see what knowledge you know. So if you're not being tested, you're not being promoted. You're just
Amen.
you're sitting and waiting, you're wasting time.
And also, too, like I wrote in my book, I forgot what chapter it is. I did an illustration about, like you mentioned, job. You on the dance floor and you on the same level as everybody else dancing on the same level. That means you see it the same way everybody else sees it. But then when God elevates you, or you get a promotion, or whatever type of elevation that happens, or whatever it is that you believe in, you get elevated, and now you're looking down, you see differently.
Yeah.
And so when you see differently, you're like, wait a minute, this is not working. Some things need to change. Some things need to move. We need to move this out of this way to make this way. But when you're on the same level, you don't see it. So when God has a plan for you, when there is a purpose in your life, he will elevate you so that you can see differently. Look down and see differently.
And it could be scary because people begin to fall off because everybody can't go with you where God is taking you. And you're like, oh no, I'm trying to hold on to this person. God, like, no, that person is not going on this journey with you.
Absolutely. I lost some friends along the way too. I lost some friends along the way, but it's okay.
Because King says, come on, speak,
Hmm.
speak. So in addition to you being an author, you are an editor in chief of Live Life Better magazine
Absolutely.
and also the founder of Live Life Better LLCs.
Absolutely.
So can you share with the listeners like your mission about these endeavors?
Sure. Let me just share how it happened. It was birthed, well, as you know, the traumatic happened in 2018. God took me on my process, made it on the other side, lots of physical therapy, lots of counseling, lots of different things. And I took a trip to a retreat. And that particular retreat, when I got on the plane, before I sat down, the Lord spoke to my spirit and he was like, I want you to do a magazine. And I'm looking around and I'm like, magazine? Well, okay, Lord. And it was like a 3-hour plane ride. And from the 3 hours, he just downloaded how and what he wanted me to do. So of course I didn't do a magazine, I did a newsletter. We never do, but we never just can just be obedient, right? Because I was like, no, I'm just gonna do this one little page and that's it. So in 2022, Live Life Better, providing hope for the future, was birthed. And Live Life Better, providing hope for the future, is a global and faith-based movement that thrives on being intentional in creating a safe environment for women, including young adult women who want to turn their trauma into triumph and have total transformation. Our mission is to help promote wellness using unique approaches that will lead to healthy conversations and intriguing workshops, primarily for women to identify within themselves the things in life that just don't effectively serve them anymore. The
Mhm.
community serves many purposes. One in particular is the Live Life Better magazine, that I'm so proud of. And it has captivating stories from women who identified their trauma, faced their challenges, and now they're embracing their new journey. And we, like you mentioned before, pain moves you either into fear or action. And so once we get over the fear, it's time to move into action. So Live Life Better is for the physical, it's for the mental, it's for the emotional, it's for the spiritual person. We inspire, we encourage, we foster communities of influence, with resources, whatever it is, so that you can have a better choice. Our mantra is live is what we get to do, especially when we are graced to see another day. Life is what we are given, and better is the spoken word that serves as the antidote for hope, because we all need that. And so, Live Life Better is on the move. I want everybody to get ready, and I want everybody to be intentional, no matter what walk of life you're coming from. It's for everybody.
Love it.
Thanks.
People need people need a place to go to release.
Yeah.
Like we hold on to the stress and the traumas of everything that happens to us. And a lot of times we're like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And you don't know what the stress and the trauma is doing to your body. So you need a place where you could go and you could release it and learn how to deal with it when the trauma pops its head up. A lot of times we don't do that. We don't go, we don't seek help. We don't want to sit in groups, and we don't want nobody to know what we've been through. Want to keep it all to ourselves, but in the inside, it's killing us.
That's right. And not only that, you can heal from what you're going through, but you still have the residue.
Yeah.
You're reminded. I'm reminded every day. You still have the residue. You know, I didn't look like this before. I had my hair was a different length. You are the scars. I have the war scars to prove what I experienced.
You're like, who is this?
Yeah, how you go from brown skin with nothing and you got bam, bam, bam. You got all these scars over you now, and you still have the residue. You're still reminded of what happened to you, and so you just you just have to just live differently. And it's not the fact that you know people don't live a good life. Yeah, we do live a good life, but we always strive for better.
Yes.
And so what Live Life Better does, we do I did a retreat in November with like 7 women, and I just let them have their hair down. I actually had a trauma expert there, and it was just so refreshing to be able to not be churchy. That's one. And allow them the opportunity to let their hair down in a safe environment. And it was such a blessing that they was like, Miss Jeannie, we want another one. We need another one. We need another one. And so now it may become a yearly thing that I do. And so with Live Life Better, it's not just the magazine, because the magazine is free if you want to subscribe to it. But I also offer wellness, you know, um, for women who identify certain things and they want to make changes. And sometimes, you are your best advocate, like you said, and you are the example. God takes you through this journey, and you always wanted a short haircut. Well, he gave you one. He takes you on this journey and you wanted to lose 10 pounds. Well, you lost 10 pounds. He takes you on this journey and your A1C levels are high, but then he begins to deal with you about your diet. And the next thing you know, your A1C levels is lower. So God is a 360. He will do it. He will do a complete work.
Girl, won't he do it?
He will do it. You may not like it, but he will do it. So we offer a plethora of different things, and I'm continually building. And like I said, writing is something that I didn't know I could do. So I'm also authoring this others aspiring authors who want to learn how to write. What do I do? So I provide them with that support too. And it's never my goal to change anyone's narrative. It's their story. I'm just here to help cultivate it and help them go to wherever level that they want to go to. And then once my job is done, my job is done. So I'm excited for what is happening now. I'm excited for being here this evening. So thank you. I'm just really excited because it makes you vulnerable. It makes you so vulnerable, and it just does a new thing. It just does a whole complete mindset in your thinking and how you think and how you live your life with your family, with your friends, with your children, with your mate. It just is completely different. And so that's where I am right now.
Angela is just commenting. She
Hello.
said her other favorite saying is "Stop hiding behind the mask." That she always says that. She says, "Yes, we are our own best advocate for ourselves." And then she said, "Let me stop. I'm maybe commenting too much."
No.
Absolutely not. We love it. We love it.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm actually working on a Warriors Wellness retreat that I want to do. So I'm going to be reaching out to you because I have some ideas and I'm trying to figure out how to put it together.
Beautiful.
So I would like to get your feedback on that.
Absolutely, yes. I love collaborations. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for sponsorships. I'm looking for anybody who wants to partner with Live Life Better. Definitely. I'm definitely all for it. I'm moving out of my own way and I'm stepping in this area of unknown, and I'm gonna see what the end is gonna be, and I'm super excited for it. So definitely.
Awesome. I want to take a quick break.
Sure.
And I want to do our community spotlight, which is going to be We Care To Agency. They are our community spotlight. They are a nonprofit community service organization, which was created in 2019. This foundation was brought into existence by the founder, Kenya Johnson. She was diagnosed with stage 1 triple negative breast cancer. As she began chemotherapy, her sister Felicia gave her a gift bag with goodies in it to help her through her treatment. And Kenya was so amazed by the thoughtfulness and the energy her sister put into providing her with the gift. So she knew that this was something that every patient could use. So now today, this act of kindness has made a major impact on the lives of thousands of patients around the world. They also feed the homeless in the community and provide services to seniors and underserved youth. And they also have an event that's coming up for survivors. They're celebrating all survivors. And the theme is Deeper Than Us. It's a survivors luncheon taking place at Crystal Sky Banquet Hall. And this is on Saturday, May 25th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And she says she wants you to wear your blinged out t-shirt, your tutus, and your heels. And the cost is only $50. And if you're not able to come, you can make a donation or you can sponsor a survivor to come and be celebrated. So you can go to wecaretoagency.com for more information. And that is our community spotlight.
Beautiful.
We're talking to Cancer Warrior, magazine CEO, certified health wellness coach.
Mhm.
One of my things about having a cancer diagnosis is thinking that or knowing that you have to make changes
Mm.
in your life. And wellness is one of those words that sticks out all the time when it comes to how do you want to change your life, health and wellness, which could be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Like, I believe it all has to be a balance. So, talk about some of the things that you do as it relates to you being a certified health coach.
Sure, no problem. Well, first I have to shout out my doctor. She was the one who kind of put that seed in me. When I was going back and forth to the doctors, I went to my medical doc. When I got to the point where I was able to tell them what I wanted to do, because it was a long time they was telling me what I needed to do, I went to my medical doctor and I said, "Listen, I'm in too much pain. Like, it's just, there's got to be a doctor that can look at me from the crown of my head to my feet to kind of give me an overall of what's going on." So she sat me down and she talked to me about inflammation. And she said, "You might be experiencing inflammation. And then the things that I was eating might be triggering an additional inflammation." She goes, "Well, what you was able to eat prior, you may not be able to eat." So I started going to a functional medicine doctor. And when I started going to the functional medicine doctor, she did exactly what I was looking for. She, from my head to my toes, she took me to like every doctor, every scan, every X-ray, every MRI, everything, just to kind of give me a totality of what was going on with me. Then after that, she began to start, putting me on, started doing like tests that I never really was used to having: saliva test, gut health test, which things will tell you, your levels of where you're at. And it was there that it sparked my interest and began to make changes for me in my own lifestyle. So, we as women, we try to, change everybody in the household. I'm a family of four. I'm a married woman and I have two young adult sons. And so, that wasn't happening. So I had to change myself first. And since I am the cook by my hand, they had to change. So if I changed, they had to change. And it started to get better. But that's where it all started. I started to look at the labels. I started to intake these different tests that she was giving me, that wasn't offered by my medical doctor, and no pun intended. It was a different, holistic approach. And I started eliminating certain things and started replacing it with better things to eat, more fruits and vegetables, less meat, and stuff like that. And I started to feel better. Wasn't so much my fingertip, because I suffer also from neuropathy because of the treatments in my feet and in my fingertips, but it's worse in my feet. And so I started to feel better in my body. I started to feel better with the what is it called? Excuse me, the post surgery. I started to feel better with the hardness around the tissues, because in my shoulder they put bolts and screws, and then in my breast I got, you know, daggers and targets of where they took out the lumps. So it started to make me feel better. I didn't always suffer with headaches and stuff like that. So that's kind of like really where it started for me. And then once you get a whim of feeling better, you don't want to let that go. You don't
Absolutely.
want to let that go. So you find a way to start going to the grocery store and shopping differently. Now, I love food. Don't get me wrong. I love food. I love my food. But I've learned to eat moderately, and that's where the 10 pounds came off, because my A1C was approaching a little high, and, they started talking to me and stuff like that. And I just wanted to do better, and I just wanted to be better. So that sparked the school. And she said, you can go to school for this. She goes, I'd rather listen to somebody who's been through something than stand there and listen to somebody who's not been through anything and they just been educated. And I was like, me? She was like, yes, absolutely you. So I really gave it to my doctor. She really planted that seed. So I took the 1 year program. I made it all the way through. And so I'm not board certified, but I am certified to do health coaching. I like to call it wellness coaching because I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. That's not my job. I'm here to listen to you and you tell yourself what you need to change. I'm here to just create a program for you, a realistic program for you to reach. That's it. And so that's another segment of my world that I'm developing and stepping into. And so from there, that's where I am with that.
Wow. Kenya said that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to collaborate.
Yep,
We're not supposed to compete. We're supposed to complete each other.
absolutely.
We're so much better together.
Absolutely. And then it segues into my peer-to-peer that I do with Adelphi University.
Mhm.
I am a volunteer where, I work the hotline, and there are women who call, and they call in agony, they call in trauma, they're calling because they just got the diagnosis. They don't know how to handle it, and so we've been trained and equipped to speak with them, not past our experience, of course, but speak with them, speak about general stuff with them to get them to the point to hear and to understand that it's going to be okay and that they should follow their doctor's orders. I kind of had the best of both worlds because when I was going through my process, I was under one healthcare system, and when that particular doctor called me and told me that I needed chemotherapy, I kind of lost it. I was good at radiation, but when he said I needed chemo, I broke a few things in my house. I just kind of lost it. I wasn't ready for that. And so, long story short, um, we went in and spoke. And the thing about the advocating part that I want to be so profound about was he held my report in his hand. And he sat there and he said, oh, yes. And if you do this and you take these many days of chemo and you do this, you should be fine. And don't worry, your hair is not going to fall out. And I walked away so confused. I didn't know what the world he was talking about. I didn't know anything about what was happening with me. And he was talking about way over my head. So I was going to physical therapy and I spoke to my physical therapist. And she goes, Jeannie, you have every right to get a second opinion. And I was like, yeah, I know, but they want to start infusion soon. And I don't want to, prolong this. And she goes, no, 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 no. So she encouraged me. Long story short, I sent all of my paperwork over to another healthcare center system. They took me in. She sat me in the chair. She crossed her legs and she talked to me one-on-one. She and I. She illustrated, she drew, she used the door as an example. And she goes, and while you're here, she goes, I don't agree with what the other person said. She goes, and while you, because I wasn't triple negative, I was HER2 and negative DCIS, um, stage 2A. She goes, I don't agree with the treatment that he's giving you. She goes, we need to tackle this head on because it's not driven from this, it's not driven from that, it's driven from estrogen. So she said, so I need to make sure that we tackle it. And that's not what he was talking about. And so she goes, and while you're here in my office and while you're making the decision of what you're going to do, I'm going to send you downtown to get a cardio, the heart, to check your heart. And I'm in the car with my husband and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And we went down and we were talking, and he said to me, he said, babe, he said, you're under the best, because where I went, that's what they specialize in. He said, why not go somewhere that specializes in what they do? And when I walked into the place to get the heart checked, the lady said something to me that gave me peace. And by the end of the day, I had already made my decision. I canceled the infusion treatments with the other healthcare system. I transferred myself over. So it's kind of like I have kind of two of the best of both worlds, because I still have my breast surgeon underneath this one healthcare, but I got my treatment under another one. So sometimes, that advocacy, people can't tell you. If you got health insurance, people can't tell you what you can and cannot do. And when that door opened for that opportunity, and one of the workers said to me, "Oh yeah, you got both." And I said, "Yeah, and I'm going to work both." Whereas my breast surgeon gives me breast MRIs, which is one of the best things versus mammograms and ultrasounds. Whereas my system that gives me the treatment, they don't give breast MRIs. So it's things like that. And when my eyes started to begin to open, and the knowledge and the wisdom that I was getting, I was like, I need to pass this on to people so they can understand that people don't know about functional medicine doctors. What's that? They didn't know that, breast MRIs, and if they don't give you, you can ask for it. They're like, what's that? It's a better picture of what's going on. So yeah, again, we may go through some things and we don't want to. But if you learn to work the word will do what? As my pastor will always teach us, the word will work for you. And that's what I did. I worked this word. I said, my kids are looking at me. I'm looking at my kids. I'm like, no, God, this can't be it. It can't. It can't. It can't. So yes, I advocate. I speak to women who call into the hotline. I encourage them, to the point of how much I can, and it's just been nothing but rewarding. And like you had said before, when you could tell your story and you don't cry, because you know what you've been through and the agony and the pain, you good.
Yeah. How can women stay connected with you?
Oh, absolutely. I am on Instagram. Should I type it as well?
Nope, I haven't.
Okay. I am on Instagram, livelifebetter.official. I'm also on Facebook, Live Life Better, but you have to ask to join, and then I just accept you in. And that is where I post most of my social media things. And then, as you have up there, I have my website that is fully functioning. It's www.jjsisme.com. And on that website, on the magazine tab, if you scroll down, is where you can subscribe for free.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, for your yes. I'm excited about everything that God has in store for you. And I want you to come back and talk about some health and wellness so we can empower the people.
I'll be more than happy to. Thank you so much for having me, and all the listeners. Just be encouraged and just fight that good fight of faith. And if it's down in your Noah, then you know what you need to do. Be encouraged.
Yes, thank you. Don't go anywhere. We have coming up next at 7 p.m. on Intellectual Radio is Pillow Talk with God. I will leave you with these words of wisdom. If you continue to carry bricks from your past, you will end up building the same house. Join me next Monday right here on Intellectual Radio at 6 p.m. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets. and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on intellectualradio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. I'll be contacting you. I'll give you a call.
No problem.
All right. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
You too. Thank you. Sorry, when you said you were taking a break.
So I guess I just hang up.